Hey everyone, thanks for joining. Today I'm speaking with Courtney Hurd and Bridget Gaudette. Courtney and Bridget have just recently founded a new organization called International Association of Atheists. And from everything I've seen, it kind of looks like they're focusing more on secular rights and secular education. Hi Bridget, hi Courtney, thanks for coming on.
Hi, thank you for having us.
If you guys want to tell everyone a little bit about yourselves and start talking about IA, and we can go from there.
Okay, go ahead, Courtney.
I was gonna say you go first. Well, you guys know me as Godless Mom, the blogger, and I think I've probably mentioned this on the last time I was on with you, but doing that made me realize that more needs to be done than just shout about atheism.
Yeah.
That there's people in trouble out there, and so that has driven me to find some place, and I've wiggled into a few little places, and they didn't really fit for me. And then finally met Bridget, and we have the same vision, and we just want to help people. We don't want to be like well known, like it's got nothing to do with it. Yeah. I know that drives a lot of other people who are involved in nonprofits, is they want to kind of make a name for themselves. But for us, it's more about we want to help people because it's very, very frustrating to see people who are in danger in other parts of the world for just not believing. And I know it's made me feel extremely helpless when I do my blog and I get those messages from people saying that they're in danger, they're on the run, all that stuff. So it's a way for me to feel less helpless, I guess. Despite the fact that right now it's so frustrating thanks to COVID-19 and everything. We seem to not be able to get anything going, but patience. Yeah. Bridget.
So most of you probably don't know me as well, so I'll give a little bit of background for me and then how I got to where I am. I was raised in a cult that you might know as Jehovah's Witnesses. And I left when I was about 22. I was disowned by my family. Didn't talk to my brother until just recently. It had been about 20 years. But I think just that drive as a Jehovah's Witness, trying to convert people, when I realized I was an atheist, I kind of had the same drive, and I went out there and I was state director for American Atheists, and I've done a lot in the movement, mostly behind the scenes. But then in recent years, my best friend, we met in Florida. She moved to Bangladesh, Rwanda, different places like that. And I don't know if you remember when all those secular bloggers got killed in Bangladesh.
Yep.
That's when I started realizing, whoa, we need to start looking internationally. I, as a Black woman in the United States, that's like the highest religiosity group. Mm-hmm. And even now, I don't get like a whole bunch of, negativity when I tell people I'm an atheist. But, over there, in other countries, you get killed for saying that. So that's what got me interested in kind of the international aspect of it. Also, I have a degree in nonprofit management. So that has really helped with kind of my perspective as far as a lot of nonprofits and how they're run, and has given me a lot of success. And then meeting Courtney, it was like my Canadian white twin, like the same ideas, because like she said, it's not about self-promotion, it's about helping people. We've already raised money for people, but we want to get them out of danger. I'm just super excited about that. And we weren't planning on a pandemic, so things haven't gone quite like we wanted to, but yeah. I've been married for 20 years. I have 3-year-old twins, and I like scary movies. How's that?
That's awesome. Okay, I just got to ask, because so before you left the Jehovah's Witnesses, because I'm still not 100% sure on this. So were you part of that, like do you know if you're part of that elect, like the 144,000, or is that like an unknown? Like, so, like, if you, let's say you had known you were part of that 144,000, would you have stayed in, or like how does that work? I'm not sure. Like,
Well, I never thought I was. What I've been told from other people is that you figure it out like the moment you get baptized, because they don't baptize. So you go under the water and you come up, and that's if if you're part of the 144,000 that are going to heaven. So, I mean, I'll tell you, even though I believed all the dogma, I never felt like that. You know how people say, oh, I have this relationship with Jesus. I never felt that. Praying always felt like I was talking to myself. I never, but people, I wonder what it feels like, because I've actually known people that have left and come back and still think they're the ones going to heaven. I'm like, wait a second, you left because you were fornicating. I'm pretty sure you're not going to be the one to go to heaven. So it's all weird. It doesn't make sense. So.
No, because I've spoken to a couple of their ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, and then like I don't know if you read Megan Phelps Roper's book, or if you have heard her talk or anything about the Westboro Baptist Church. They bring up the concept of the elect as well, and I mean Calvinists have that, right? And I think the way Megan described it in her book, and the way the Calvinists say it, is no one knows if you're elect or if you're not. You should act as if you are, though, because even if you're not, you're always consumed by total depravity, and you have to, at least if you act like you're elect, you might resist the sin, right? I don't know. It's something along those lines, so I wasn't sure what the Jehovah's Witnesses. Anyways,
Not. And the crazy thing is they've been around so long. More than 144,000 people, if you consider the world, have thought they were. I'm like, it's been 100 years, and there's always, they count at every year how many people claim that they're of the anointed. And if you add it all up over all these years, there's more than 144,000. So, hey,
when I first heard that, all I could think of was like, okay, that's like multi-level marketing for religion.
Exactly.
You go and convert more people, so there's more at the bottom, so you've got like, you raise your level up or whatever. Anyways, so back to your organization, because like I know you guys only just started it, but I think like one of the first things you did was working with a school in Kenya, right?
Actually, it was a school in Uganda, and that was work that we did with AAI. We raised money for that school, but now that we are on our own doing work for starting our own organization, we intend to continue to work for the humanist schools in Uganda. And actually, yesterday we were just discussing some potential of being able to get them some pandemic supplies like hand sanitizer and stuff like that. But we've been hitting a lot of snags. Like one of the biggest snags that we've hit is just opening a bank account is impossible in this pandemic, because you have to be there in person. And me and our third co-founder Dale, we're Canadian, and so we would have to cross the border to go into a bank there to verify our identity and everything like that, and to sign. And we can't cross the border right now. So,
like I don't know if this could help or not, but there's a thing called if you look up a website called Support a Teacher, I think it's supportateacher.org, and there's a thing on there that she's created. It says. She's a teacher out of Texas. Her name's Courtney Jones, and she created this thing called Donors Choose. And I know there's teachers across the U.S. and some in Canada, and I think there might be some in Europe, that set up a project or they put up an Amazon wish list, and people buy it for teachers. Like I've gone on or if you do like check out this hashtag called Clear the Lists. Like I've done it a few times where I've bought stuff off for teachers and things like that. And then it's shipped directly from Amazon or whatever, wherever you're buying that from. And it's shipped directly to wherever it's going. So you don't see the money. Though they don't see the money, they just get the end product, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, maybe take a look at that if that, I mean, I understand for now that, I mean, like, it's just a stopgap measure, maybe.
Yeah. I don't know if Amazon, I don't know if there's a company that would have a wish would be deliverable to some of these schools. Some of these schools are pretty remote in Uganda too, and they're in dangerous areas.
No,
So
I get that, but I mean, like,
yeah.
if there is someone who delivers out there, and you could put that on their
Yeah,
list.
we actually find one company in Uganda that's delivering hand sanitizers, supposedly.
So
We don't know.
But okay, so like when you guys are working in Uganda, do you? Because I mean, I know they're not there much anymore. They're more in Congo. But you had like a Lord's Resistance Army. Then you had. I'm trying to think. There was another. They were an offshoot of the Lord's Resistance Army, but then they became even more like fundamentalist. I think they just lit a church on fire a couple of years ago, with the parishioners inside, because they weren't Christian enough or something. So like, when you speak to schools out there, do you hear about stuff like that? Do you hear about like the resistance they get from the community? Because I mean, Uganda, Africa pretty much is religious one way or the other, be it Islam or Christianity.
We haven't heard about like people resisting the schools per se. I think that overall it appears from my perspective, which is tiny, it appears as though it's like a welcome addition to the community because they don't have a whole lot of schooling options. But there have been stories like of some of them getting caught in like the crossfire of different conflicts and stuff like that, and we have heard some pretty harrowing stories. I can't recall them off like exactly what happened. Do you remember that story that Gail told us, Bridget, about
I don't. And the only thing I can think is like I remember that there was one point where they had the students outside saying, speaking for science education, and they weren't getting like negativity about it, even though the kids stand there, little placards and stuff. So I think for right now they're doing okay, but it's kind of scary. It's just one of those parts of the world where and that's why we want people in each country or each continent, and we want somebody on our board. Like I said, my best friend lives in Rwanda, and I like her to be on our board because she's more on the ground. She knows the culture, and we also had someone tell us, about, we were thinking about having like billboards or different things. And they're like, well, you have to think about people that are illiterate. I mean, like just like stuff I've been to Africa, but I don't know the culture as well as I need to. And so it's important to have somebody on the ground that can, educate us so we don't go in there thinking we know what we're doing and put somebody in danger. So we talked to the headmaster, and I'm sure he would let us know if something we were doing was negative.
He seems pretty well supported by the community too, like when he posts pictures and stuff. But it's important to note that the kids in these schools, like I'd say like probably 98% of them, they come in religious. And I don't think that like the humanist school, I don't think is viewed as anti-religion in any way. I think that because he accepts kids that are religious and stuff like that, that people just see it as another school. And I don't think that in that society that there's such a divide between science and religion. I think they're excited to learn about science for the most part. Like the parents are happy to have their kids learning about science despite the fact that they're religious and stuff. Which is similar here in Canada, right? Like we don't have that huge divide between science and religion. There's a lot of religious people out here that are happy to give their kids a full science education, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's more what it's like there, and they don't really get a lot of pushback because they're not pushing the whole atheism thing or the anti-religion thing. It's just humanism and, science education and stuff.
Okay,
and
that's good.
It's a great place to send your kids to school.
No, I mean, okay.
Don't orphans also live there? So
yeah.
People also support it because it's not just a school; it's a place for kids. Their parents have died of HIV or actually AIDS. So that's probably another reason why they get support is they're taking care of the kids too, not just their education, but their physical well-being.
But when you mentioned Canada, like when I lived up north, that was one issue, and it wasn't so much the religion thing, because religion's big up in Inuit communities, or at least the ones I was in. Like the community I lived in was 2,500 people, and there were 4 churches. You know,
Wow.
yeah, so yeah. But one of the things was the kids got a really mixed message from what I saw, and it was, I mean, and I get some of this, right? It was go to school, learn, but then at the same time, pull them out for 10 days to go hunting. You know, getting blowback for coming down to like Montreal or Quebec or other parts of Canada to go to university. Like, oh, you're better than us, right? Especially in rural communities. I mean, I don't want to generalize, but like from what I've seen from everywhere I've traveled and, you know, like places I've worked and stuff, it's, you know, they want to hold on to those traditions, and there is some of that thing, or, oh, you're leaving us, you're kind of betraying us. Like, I was always wondering if there's stuff like that, or is that just, they just more want to get their kids educated, and they, you know, it's a, maybe it's even a meal for their kids, right?
Yeah, they do get fed and clothed.
Okay.
Maybe that's something we can look into, is kind of maybe interview the parents. I hadn't actually thought about it from that perspective, even though I grew up like that. It was like, you know, you go to school because you have to, but then you forget all that stuff and believe that the earth is still 6,000 years old, and don't you dare go to college. So I don't know. Yeah, that it could be interesting. Like, the parents just support it because they are getting fed, and I think they get T-shirts and stuff like that. And I don't know if all the teachers are atheists or humanists either. You know, Courtney?
I know that it's a mix, and the volunteers are unreliable, as you know, we've experienced ourselves. But they the other thing that I think comes into play is, like, here in Canada, where the standard of living is a lot higher, you know, you have people who have a lot of idle time to sit around and think about, you know, how evil the atheists are and stuff like that. But in a place like Uganda, where you're struggling just to make ends meet, not that all of them are, I'm sure there's some that aren't, but where it's just a different standard of living, and there's other things that you have to worry about that are a little bit more pressing. I think that it's like, if somebody comes along and says, do you want to go to a free school? We'll give your kids a uniform. They can have breakfast and lunch there every day. You're going to jump on it, right? Because that's going to solve a lot of your problems. And I don't think you're going to look at what their philosophies are. I think it's probably working for religious schools as well, right? In most developing countries, when you offer a family that's struggling a place like that, they're going to just say yes, without regard to, like, the different philosophies that are being pushed on kids. Not that humanism is pushed on them, but, you know, the science education is, and I don't have a problem with that.
And the cool thing is, I mean, that meshes so well with what we want to do at IAA, you know, promote secular education, science education. And I believe the headmaster said, you know, they come in Christian, but they often leave atheist because, you know, of the proper education they're getting. So you don't have to be anti-theist. You don't have to be anti-Christian or whatever, as long as you're supporting, you know, like I said, humanism, secular education, science education. So if the kids are leaving there, you know, at least considering themselves humanists, if not atheists, then, I mean, of course, we want to support that.
There is a place for things like, when, you know, like the street epistemology and all that stuff. There is a place for that. That's never been my thing. Like, whatever. Like, I'll talk about it. I'll have arguments on Twitter. but yeah, I mean, like, if you teach them, and again, it shouldn't be indoctrination. It should be like, here's science. And not here's science as a way of fact. Here's not science as a bunch of facts. Here's science as a way of thinking.
Yeah.
You know, here's Enlightenment values. Here's what these are. And if you can compare them, you give them the choice. Do you want freedom, or do you want to be, you know, like, these are these rules? Like, which ones do you like better? Most people will choose, you know, give me the freedom, right? I mean, and you gotta live the ones who want to choose the the orthodoxy, you have to give them the freedom to choose it. But I mean, so yeah, I mean, I guess it's a reverse of the Jesuits saying there, like, give me the boy at 12 and I'll give you the man at 18 or something. You know,
Yeah.
Give me the kid and I'll spit him out a humanist by the time he graduates.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, you just have to teach them the basic things, right? You just have to teach them.
Yeah. Critical thought.
Yeah.
That's it.
And you just teach them how to think, and you give them a choice.
One of the things that I believe that Jehovah's Witnesses took from me was that ability to think critically. I mean, for a long time. I'd like to think I have it now, but and I hadn't realized that was kind of, I didn't suffer like any kind of like physical abuse or anything like that as a, being a theist, but I did not think critically. I was told what to think, and that's it. And so one of the reasons why I've made a big deal with Courtney about, I'm like, I don't want anti-theistic stuff all over our social media, is because I came from a very religious background, and that stuff just made me grip on harder. When people made fun of Jehovah's Witnesses, I'm like, see, we're being persecuted. This is exactly what the Bible predicted. So it's fine we all joke and stuff like that. It's fine you can be critical of religion. I just don't like this like hate or like calling people stupid and stuff like that. So we're atheists, but we're running this organization with kind of like, humanist values, not anti-theistic values per se.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's important to note that there's a lot of organizations out there that are doing that already, and they, like you said, there's a place for the street epistemology, and there's a place for, like, even in my blog, I do that. I'm critical of religion on my blog, and I make fun of it and all that stuff, but that's more of a creative outlet. And I've always, you used to watch my podcast, that I've always stood up for, treating religious people just like you would an atheist. Like, I don't think we need to be mean or rude to them or call them stupid or anything like that. And those are my values. And so I'm glad that I connected with Bridget, because she has the same values, and I don't want to go in that direction. Like I said, there's a lot of other organizations that are taking that stance, and there's a place for it, and they do it well. And so there's no need for us to do it. Right. What we need in this community is we need to recognize the fact that there's a crisis going on for atheists in a lot of developing countries, and we need to step up and help them. We need to put our money where our mouth is, and we need to, atheists love to talk about how they love to tackle the morality argument, and this is an opportunity to prove that we can be just as good as religious people, if not better, and that, it's not really, in my mind, I don't really think that's being accomplished by, going to conventions and having talks and doing book tours and all that stuff. That's more about, promoting yourself. And that's not, again, what we're about. We want to help people. We don't care if we get the recognition for it. We don't even need our names to be on it. I want to feel less frustrated when people email me or message me and say, I'm in danger and I need help. And that is literally the bottom line. And I think that part of that is education. Secular education will lead to a new generation of critical thinkers. And that crisis is going to end naturally as that generation starts to grow up, as a more critical thinking generation starts to grow up. So that's why education is really important to us.
Okay, I mean, you get you hear it all the time, and you hear people say it over and over and over again: fight bad ideas with good ideas. It's become this mantra. But what you're doing with the schools there, like, granted, you're supporting the schools, you're not teaching, but like you're helping good ideas spread. There's another organization, I don't know if you've heard of them, Ideas Beyond Borders. Mm-hmm. So what they do is they translate books on science and philosophy into Arabic, Farsi, and Kurdish, and they're available for free online. Now they're also working with, I don't want to give a number because I could probably get it wrong, but I think it's like 10 universities in Iraq, and they're also started working with schools. Like they've translated some children's books as well. And they translated Annika Harris's books, and so like they've, and that's exactly what they're doing, right? They are spreading good ideas. They're not doing anything else. They're not proselytizing. They're not going out be an atheist. They don't even talk about religion. It's here for free. Take it if you want, and that's it. Like I remember, it was right after the plane got shot down in Iran, and there was protests going on all over. There was also protests in Iraq. One of their tents got burned, but then they were still going out, they were giving out copies of Steven Pinker's book, Enlightenment Now.
Mm.
So, I mean, like, yeah, it's like what you're doing, what those schools are doing, what people like Ideas Beyond Borders are doing. I think that's more important. Like, I brought this point up with a couple of people, and it bugs me. Like, you take someone like Raif Badawi. Everyone, I shouldn't say everyone, but like he's known because he got flogged and he got put in prison. But there are people in the Middle East right now who are not in prison, who are speaking up. And there's people across Africa as well. And I know the whole reform Muslim, ex-Muslim thing better than the Christian stuff, and they're speaking up, but they don't get the attention. Like it's things like that. Like so, what you guys are doing, like kind of it goes along with all of this stuff, and it's hope you guys can keep going.
Well, and along with what you're saying, one of the things we want to do is when those people speak out and get arrested for breaking blasphemy laws, that's one of our core things too that we want to work on is providing legal aid for these people. If they're on the ground doing these things, and not only are they putting their lives in jeopardy, their attorneys, things like that. So that's another way that we want to help atheists. I mean, that's our thing. Is we're not just trying to, the school is huge for us, but also supporting people that are getting death threats or whatever because of these because they're speaking out. I don't know, Courtney, do you want to go into some of our other kind of ideas or programs that we wanted to do? But that's definitely one, is have a legal aid fund.
Yeah, along those lines was also the Secular Underground Network. So every single outspoken atheist out there has had a message from somebody at some point in time saying, help me, I'm in trouble, right?
Yeah.
And so all the organizations across the board, every single atheist organization or humanist organization gets those messages too. And they all, most of these organizations have a group of people who they're trying to help or who they're in contact with and just trying to give moral support to, because it's such a complicated issue to get people to safety in that situation. It's so complicated because every case is different. And you're dealing with immigration. Now we're dealing with a pandemic. It's it is just, it is an absolute logistical nightmare to deal with people who are in trouble and need to get out, basically. And so one of the things that we wanted to do was connect all these organizations so that, because, for instance, we'll get a message from somebody, and we'll start talking to him about his situation and what he's going through and what he needs. And we'll start to get little pieces of the puzzle, and we'll realize that he's already talked to CFI, or he's talked to 10 other organizations, and they've all done their own vetting, and they've all interviewed him, and they've all looked into his immigration. So instead of each of us doing it all over again every time he contacts someone new, we are all connected. And we have a plan. It's going to require money, which requires a bank account. Thank you, COVID-19. But we have a plan to make a centralized kind of hub so we can all work on this together. So if somebody comes to one of us and we start vetting him, all that information can go into this hub and we can all access it. The biggest hurdle, of course, is to be encryption, because this is sensitive information. And but that's one of the things that we really want to work on, is being able to identify what one organization is really, really good at. Like maybe the CFI has a leg up on immigration because they have immigration lawyers volunteering for them or something like that. And maybe we're better at doing the fundraising for getting them from point A to point B. So we would identify what our strengths are and work together to help these people, so we can pool our resources and maybe actually rescue somebody at some point. You know what I mean? So that's one of the things that we want to work on. And I actually was talking to Yasmin. She called me and we talked about this for a while, and she's really interested in it. I've talked to Melissa over at Secular Rescue, and she's really interested in that. So these are the things that we really want to work on. But it's so frustrating not to be able to work on it.
Okay, I only know a bit of this, and just because it was myself and 5 other people, and we sponsored someone who was going to become a refugee to Canada, and she had been stuck in Turkey, and she'd escaped from Yemen. Mm-hmm. And for the lack of a check mark in one box, it all got rejected.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, it's a little, and it was like not, it wasn't something like, okay, it wasn't like, okay, identity or anything like that. It was like a very non-consequential thing. But no, for the lack of that, and it's just, the bureaucracy and everything that goes along with that is so annoying. It's just,
yes, it is.
At some points, okay, again, I didn't do much of it. I filled out a few forms, sent in some stuff. There was someone handling this, right? But they almost make it like, yeah, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, why should I bother helping this person out? It's like, taking too much. It's like, I understand vetting. I understand security, all that. I mean, like I said, I've worked in war zones. I get that. But sometimes you need a little bit of common sense.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
And we recognize our strengths, and we hope that other organizations can do that too. And maybe we can streamline it. We do this, you do this in this order, and then it gets done quicker. Of course, I mean, these were all of our dreams before a pandemic. So, who knows what's going to happen now? But yeah, we want people that, like Courtney said, it's called the Secular Underground Network. We're also going to have people in other countries, in these countries where, if somebody's an immediate threat, they got to get to, a safe house, they need to get, and then it's just, and we have a lot to learn. That is one thing that this has given us this time, is to do a lot of research. We have to teach ourselves a lot of stuff, and we need to find people that know what they're doing, because you don't always know what you don't know, but I feel like we're pretty good at that. So we're finding people that know what they're doing. We're not going to just get a bunch of people, like famous people, and think that that's going to help,
But I mean,
somebody to find.
I'll give you one data point, and again, this is one data point. I'm doing a lot of extrapolation from this, but I think the Middle East, I think there's a lot of good signs. And okay, this is one out of many, but that organization, Ideas Beyond Borders, when they first started up the translation thing, they were looking for translators in the region. So when they put out the first call, in the first day, they got 15,000 people in Iraq to join up to translate science and philosophy books in English, even knowing the kind of danger they could put themselves in. So, I mean, okay, I'm not saying, I don't want to deny any of the dangers, and it's horrible down there, okay, but I think there is little points like that where there is a lot of pushback, where people are looking for something different. Hopefully, once this thing all calms down, you can start working on this. But I think you'll be pleasantly surprised in some regions where you'll be able to find a lot more help than you thought.
Mm-hmm.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Okay, speaking of the pandemic, because I know you guys were doing some live streams and stuff, and you had people coming on, and I think you had Janice Selby on a couple times as well to like help people cope with the pandemic. Are you still doing that, or are you still like?
You're talking about two different things, actually.
Yeah.
One was called humanitarian hangouts, and that was just small groups that had that were led by a therapist. That were not counseling groups or anything, but it was just a group for like atheists that were kind of they're isolated. We had one guy he hadn't come out to his parents as being gay or atheist, and he was stuck in the house with them, and he just needed somebody to talk to. Yeah, they're Pentecostal. So I hope that we can eventually do some more of those, but we're also going to start live streaming on Friday nights, different kind of feel to it. Just letting people get to know me and Courtney and Gail, ask questions about the organization. We're all this is worldwide. We've been brought together in a sense by this COVID-19. And I think just letting people see the real us and still talk about the organization is going to help. We have suspended asking people for funds because we want to, support people that are, fighting the fight against COVID-19, but we still want them to know that we're working on things. We're not just sitting back, doing nothing. So it just kind of it'll give people the chance to kind of talk to us and us talk to each other, and you can watch us talk to each other.
Well, I came up with the idea when I was watching. I told Bridget this too. I told her all about Strombo. Strombo.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
George, come on, Canada's boyfriend.
Yeah. No, okay. The name Strombo had struck me for it because I haven't watched that. Like he hasn't been on in a long time, so.
Yeah. Well, he does the live streams on Facebook, and it was a couple weeks ago, I think, on a Friday night or something like that. And my husband and I noticed that he went live, that Strombo went live. And so I loaded it up on my phone, and my husband and I just lay in bed for like 2 hours watching Strombo play 90s music. And it was like going back to the days of Much Music when he was a VJ, right?
Yeah.
It was so just relaxing. It was so what I needed in that moment. And I think just connecting with people and seeing their faces and hearing their voices can help. Yeah, that's really what the motivation is. Yeah. It's just distraction to, get to know people, help them get to know us as well.
And not be super like, we're not going to be talking about IA the whole time. Because I guarantee like I said, I have 3-year-old twins. They will want to be involved. So, just letting people see like, oh my God, I'm going through the same thing. These people are starting this international organization, but at the same time, their 3-year-old is climbing on her head, and Courtney's dog is barking louder.
My dog barks a lot.
And I think some people feel helpless, and maybe this can let them see that, hey, these 2 or 3, hopefully Gail will be on there, are doing things, and maybe I can help them out. So just. It's going to be chill, but I still want to do the hangouts that are more, where people can kind of cry and get their feelings out amongst people that, in a fairly safe, small group. So, that's not something I've seen anybody else doing.
Actually, I was just supposed to say, I've seen some stuff coming up with like ex-Muslims and Reform Muslims because Ramazan's coming up. And so if they're, if they're not terribly religious and they don't fast, but they have to pretend because they're around their family and they're stuck at home, or if they're ex and they have to pretend because I've seen a few like organizations that are doing hangouts for things like that. There's one going on tomorrow with a couple of friends of mine out of the UK, and but they're actually like, whatever. Yeah, we're just gonna hang out and just eat food.
Yeah.
But okay, so with the whole pandemic thing going on, I just like in the schools in Uganda. I mean, I know you're only working with one, but have you heard anything like? Are they the kids at home, or are they still going to school? Like, is there if they're at home, how are they learning, or is there anything going on? Like, is there like if they are learning from home, is there an initiative to like get them some sort of tablet or something, or is there anything like that? Or
they are not going to school right now, but the schools that we've worked with have their orphanages as well. So there's still some kids that are like on campus that have to be taken care of. And I see that Robert Buwambali, I have trouble with his last name. He's the one who runs the Kasisi Humanist School. He's been doing a lot of like upkeep and stuff like that. I don't think there's any effort to do long distance learning just because of like the inconsistency of everything there and the fact that there's no access to technology or even, in some places books, right? So I don't think there's any effort to do the long distance learning, but I do know that the kids who come in for the day are not coming in right now. I don't even know what the numbers are like in Uganda. I haven't looked at that.
No, I don't think there was a lot coming out of Africa, but that was the last time I heard anything about that was like about a month ago or so. So I don't know.
It's made me wonder if this is seasonal, when you look at like all the places that have been hardest hit, they're in winter. It was winter when this all started. And like Australia doesn't have very many cases, New Zealand doesn't have very many cases, and they're just coming out of summer. So I'm wondering if they'll.
There was something yesterday again. It's there's so much stuff that comes out. I didn't read much of it. I just read the first little bit, and I was just like, okay, whatever. It sounded interesting, but it wasn't interesting enough. It was like something like it was more sunlight. No, but it was more sunlight exposure to sunlight than it was heat that was helping.
More ultraviolet light.
I don't know, but like I said, I didn't read it. There's just too much. I'd rather read something like by Dr. Mercola telling you to sniff peroxide.
Dr. Mercola. Oh my gosh, my mom loves that man.
Oh God. But did you see that? Like it was maybe I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks ago, I want to say. He was putting that out there. Like it was to help as a preventative and to help you defend yourself against COVID, sniff peroxide.
Jesus. Okay, no. My mom is bad. Okay, my mother is bad. When I
No, she's gonna watch or listen to this. She had some kind of a scratch. Oh, I think it was my dog. Her nails were too long. Scratched her on the arm. And so she put, what the hell did she put on it? Oh, she put coconut oil on her arm, but she did it after she fed her dog raw chicken. Oh. And the dog came over and started licking the coconut oil off of the scratch because he puts coconut oil on a cut. But anyways, he's licking it off of her cut, and of course the cut gets infected, right? And so instead of going to the health center that's right across the street from her house, that's free because we're in Canada, she decides that she's going to go on the internet and figure out how to treat this. So of course, essential oils. It was like myrrh or one of the frankincense or myrrh or something like that. It was biblical anyway. She put that. She put that on the infection and gave herself a chemical burn.
Oh my God.
So she went to the health center for the infection and now a chemical burn.
Jesus. Okay, like I don't want to spend too much time talking about this guy, but I mean he's harmful because whatever, say whatever you want about David Avocado Wolf, but this, like, I mean, Mercola is like, oh, I'm a doctor, this and that. I mean, I remember one point he was selling tanning beds to help you against skin cancer.
Yeah.
Like, pardon?
Okay, guys, I don't even want to hear about it. Have you heard of Donald Trump? That's who we have giving out medical advice. So you talk about your little people and doing this or that, but we have a president telling people the most ridiculous stuff ever.
Yeah. But here, I was speaking to someone about this, and it's right now in the States, it's the worst, but in Western liberal democracies, we have an issue right now. Whatever. At the very start, when this started happening, and Trump's idea to ban only immigration from China was silly. But if you looked at the countries that actually did well right at the very start, like Singapore, Taiwan, Hong Kong, the first thing they did was cut down all travel. Now, granted, there wasn't anything in the U.S. at that point, really. But if you wanted to get ahead of this thing, if you wanted to give yourself time to prepare and whatever, and granted, this is all hindsight, and I can Monday morning quarterback and all that BS, right? But as soon as he said something, you had the other side saying, "Oh no," because it was Trump that said it, they didn't like it, right? And I'm not saying Trump was giving great advice. I'm not even saying that his immigration thing was done out of like any kind of knowledge, right? Okay, okay, no, but like if there had been some sort of thing where he had listened to experts and there had been a cohesive plan, right? It would have been attacked just because it was Trump. And then, so when he got a little serious at the start, they were like, "Oh, go to Chinatown, enjoy yourself at the Chinese New Year," blah, 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 like all that, right? And that was coming from the other side. So we've got that issue in the States, I think, is far worse than anywhere else in the West, where it's, if one side says one thing, the other side automatically says the opposite. Like if Trump says the sun sets in the West, there's going to be like Pelosi's going to go check. Like it's that bad. Like,
yeah,
it is.
It's so divisive, and it's like that a lot in Canada too. And like in the beginning with Trudeau, I personally thought he should have shut things down a lot sooner than he did, and it was driving me crazy. And like I wasn't a Trudeau supporter before, but I didn't like hate the guy. But now he drives me crazy. Like he drives me fucking crazy when I listen to his talks every morning. He talks to the country every morning. It's like he's trying to deliver the perfect monologue in a play, right? Like he's acting.
He's a drama teacher. Okay, right now I feel like Palpatine. It's like, let the hate flow through you. Okay, I have not made. Okay,
that 8-year-old.
Okay,
Sorry.
I have not made my disdain for Trudeau secret, and my biggest thing with him is he glommed on to that woke nonsense, and he's brought it into our government. But okay, yes, I agree that he should have acted sooner, and there was some of this thing like, calling it the Chinese virus is racist, whatever. Stop spending time on that bullshit, right? But once they started acting, like, they were doing okay. I'm not saying they were doing fantastic or whatever. They were doing all right. And now he's coming back into the waffling and there's no decision making. There's no, where it's we're gonna have discussion. Like, how many discussions do you need? Like,
oh God, and trying to listen to him answer questions that are straightforward. But I mean, at the same time, I understand that he doesn't have, because this is a complicated situation for anybody, let alone the leader of a country. But it's just like, just say that. Just say, we don't know. We don't have the answer for you right now. Like, you don't have to, like, I don't know if you were watching yesterday, but yesterday they were talking about the CERB, the Canadian Emergency Response Benefit. And, like, every second caller was saying, why don't you make this universal? Why don't you make this universal? And he'd go into his, well, we've opened it up for people who are in most need, and now we're tackling the students. And then he wouldn't answer the question, and then someone else would call in and be like, why aren't you making this universal? Well, we've opened it up for the students. It's just driving me crazy. Like, just say, we're not making it universal. Go. Find a way to deal with it, Canadians.
Exactly. Okay, But Bridget, I don't know if you saw this. I'll send you the link. But there was this guy. He's a comedian. And he's out of New York, and he did this 5-minute rant about that $1,200 stimulus check you guys got. It's hilarious. Yeah. Like it's. I'll send it to you. But I mean, okay. Like here's my thing is with, and this comes into, like all the liberate stuff in the States, and there's people grumbling here, and I get that. And we don't have a cohesive plan. Countries that came out with a cohesive plan and said, we're going to do this, this, and this, and they were honest and upfront, right? If their governments had come up and said, you know what, we need masks, we need ventilators, we need tests. We need to shut down for a few weeks, we'll help you guys out, and it's going to take, maybe 6 weeks, and we can start ramping up production and everything will start going, and then we can, ease out. And you might be inconvenienced a little bit, but you can go out and work, you can go out and shop. Things might take a little longer. If you told people that, I think that's part of the frustration now. No one knows anything. Like, okay, Trump again. Like, here's my 3-step plan. When 2 governors decided to go into phase 1, he called them idiots, and I mean they were implementing his plan.
Yeah. He's so hilarious, but at the same time infuriating. Like,
all right, it have a little politics thing. Okay, what is your favorite COVID conspiracy theory? All right, there's so much out there, Anne.
They're all good.
What's the 5G?
Oh yeah, 5G is causing this, and there's actually people burning down 5G towers in the UK.
Oh my god!
But it wasn't the UK this time, Bridget. It wasn't the US.
Yeah, I know, right? Yay!
But yeah, all right. Then there's the one Bill Gates is gonna.
Gates.
Yeah, the vaccine's gonna have a microchip in it.
Yeah.
Yes,
This is all big.
Where do people come up with this stuff? I wish I could be a little bit more imaginative.
Yeah.
All right. This is actually a serious thing that came out today. It's in the Huffington Post, which whatever I find, it's not the biggest newspaper or anything. She is she's got a PhD in diversity studies. She teaches at Brooks College in Oxford, but she's making it sound like she teaches at Oxford, but 2 different things. But it's supposed to be a good school and whatever. She's saying, I hope that a vaccine doesn't get found out at Oxford University. I'd rather it get found out in China, because if it gets found in Britain, it's going to promote racism and patriotism. I'm not kidding you. And this is not a conspiracy theory. This is just following like woke thinking. But yeah, if the vaccine's created in the UK at Oxford, it's going to show British exceptionalism. It's going to be racist. It's going to promote nationalism and racism, blah, blah, blah. I'd prefer it to be made in China.
I'm pretty much happy with wherever it ends up being made.
Yeah. I mean, like, honestly.
I mean, I'm in some homeschooling groups, and so some people have, and half of them are anti-vax. So I asked, so what are you guys gonna do if and when the COVID vaccine comes out? And they're like, oh, well, we're still not getting it. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, they're really hardcore. And I'm like, okay, please keep your kids at home I'm so happy you're homeschooling, because, I can't believe that I'm like, you would not get the vaccine. I understand. No, I don't understand any of the anti-vax stuff, but they're like, it still might cause autism too. I'm like, oh, please.
Did you see that it was in The Onion, I think? Researchers are delaying the vaccine until they can figure out how to make it cause autism.
Yeah. but there's so many parents that are really worried about that.
But also,
my mom, that's the shit that my mom spews all the time. And it was okay. So back when I first moved out of the house when I was like 19 or something, she used to call me all the time, and she'd just rattle on about these alternative medicine remedies or whatever, and it drove me crazy. And she did it to my brother too, and we just were like, oh god, I can't stand it, and we have to do something about this because she's just crazy. So we decided to give her a blog. Don't call us, write it on your blog. The problem is she developed a following. Like, she actually got, like, blog readers. She has a Facebook page with hundreds of people on it. It's all my fault. Like, it's all my fault. And so recently, and I say about a year ago, I see her, like, posting all this anti-vax stuff, and I'm like, I contacted my brother, and I said, what do you think we should do? And he's like, I don't know, let me think about it. And then it hit me that, like, I'm a admin on the Facebook page because she doesn't understand technology very well. And so I went in there and I set it to only show in English in Saudi Arabia.
Okay, she's not going to listen to this, right?
No, she's not. But if she did, she'd laugh. She'd laugh.
Oh,
but she's asked me a few times. She's like, "Am I getting any likes on my stuff?" Like,
but it's like my mom. I mean, she's on like WhatsApp family groups, and the stuff that like goes around. Because I mean, in South Asia already, you already have like the area like Ayurvedic medicine, which is basically like homeopathy, and it's just like so. There's all kinds of God knows what. My mom's always been, I gotta drink some tea with turmeric, and it's gonna do this and that, and so like the stuff that's going on like on these WhatsApp groups about COVID, and she like tells me these things, and I'm like, oh no, Mom, no, don't. Like, just, but yeah, it's funny like that. Those like that's what's scary about right now, and it's also scary when I think about government overreach, like getting back to Canada, like Trudeau talking about, we're going to ban misinformation. Like, what's misinformation then? Is misinformation like what YouTube says? Anything that speaks against the WHO is going to be taken off? Because I'm sorry, WHO dropped the ball. I'm not saying they're colluding. I'm not saying they're conspiring. I'm not saying they did it on purpose, but they dropped the ball. Right? You should be able to say that. Yeah. You should be able to say that the virus came out of China. And you should, you should be able to speculate. Not that they did it on purpose, not that they're making a bio up and whatever, but they have a lab there. Labs do study viruses. Were they studying it? Did it get released? I'm not saying it happened. I'm not saying it did. I'm not proposing that whatsoever. I'm just saying you should be able to ask that, right? So
yeah, I think that the problem is you're not going to stop people from believing unfounded stuff by taking it off of Facebook and taking it off of YouTube, because you're going to find other websites. There's going to be other places to find it. Like Dr. McCall is not going away anytime soon. How you do it is by teaching critical thought, and that is where secular education comes in, and that's why what we do is so important.
Yeah. No, but I mean, I'm also like, I'm concerned about government overreach, and I mean, some of the arguments of, my civil liberties, this and that, and it's like, okay, I get that. I really don't want that taken away, but if people had acted a little bit more responsibly, maybe you wouldn't. But then I think there's stupid things on the other end. Like some of those churches in the States where they were sitting in their cars in the parking lots. They're in their goddamn cars. They're in the parking lots. They're not going near each other. Let them. They're figuring out a way to deal with it, right?
Yeah.
And it seems like a good, a happy medium. They're isolated. Like, I don't see the problem with that. Like, some guy on a lake by himself on a boat, like, getting a ticket. Like, what the hell is that?
Yeah. There was, the other day, a friend of mine told me that her friend went to go visit her elderly mom, and they sat outside, like, social distancing, which I did the other day for my mom's birthday. And somebody called the cops on them. And like the other day, I let my son go outside and play with his friend, and I have explained over and over and over to him about social distancing. Don't touch the same things, keep your distance, but you can ride bikes or whatever together. And so I let him go out to do that for a little while, and he did okay. I was watching because I can see everything from up here, and and I was worried that somebody was gonna call the cops on me or something like that for just letting my kid play outside. And yeah, I do. I worry about that too. But at the same time, there's just idiots that will not listen, and we can't take the chance of those people, just the stupid decisions that they make overwhelming our hospital system. Like, you just look at what's happening in New York. This morning, I saw a comment they were talking about in Kelowna, they're going to be opening up some non-essential businesses as long as they can do social distancing inside or whatever. And this guy responded to it. He posted a comment saying, all the predictions were wrong. You see, we only have like 150 people in ICU right now, which is like, 20% of our capacity in BC. They were all the predictions were wrong. And I'm like, dude, they weren't wrong. It's that what we're doing has been working. And if we change that, it may not. And like, all you have to do is look at other places where the hospital system has been overwhelmed and stuff like that. So it's people like that fucking scare the hell out of me. I don't want my parents to die because some douchebag can't. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I know.
And that's the part that pisses me off, is these people who, like, they're so. It's not even. We're not even here in Canada. We're not even missing anything all that important, right? We're not. Like, with the exception of people who have lost their jobs and are struggling to pay for things, which, they're getting money from the government now, probably not enough, but, it's not so dire that we need to freak out and open everything up without taking proper precautions first. I do like the model in Sweden, though, where they, like, I don't know if you've seen the videos going around of what they're doing.
Yeah, but okay. I've actually been following that, and I've been following it. Like, there's a site called One World Data. It's a really good site for data. And if you look at Sweden, Denmark, Finland, and Norway, and I'm just comparing the Scandinavian countries because Sweden's got the largest population of all of them, but they pretty much all went into lockdown at the same time. And then, especially if you look at Denmark, they started reporting cases at the exact same time, like within a day or two. Mm-hmm. Sweden has, like, per million, it's far greater than those countries. It's got, I think it's got double of Denmark, or no, 4 times of Denmark, like 7 or 8 times of Finland, 3 times of Norway.
It's I think the 10th highest in the world.
Yeah, so I don't know if you can say that's working. Okay, you compare it to the United States, but then in the United States, if you compare by per million, Sweden's way up there. Sweden is per million the same as Canada. Canada's got 3 times the population of Sweden, right?
Yeah.
The Swedish system might work if they were wearing masks. Like, I think that's one of the biggest things is masks. And I think one of the biggest things is what Singapore, Hong Kong, Taiwan, and South Korea were doing. And and I think even China later on started doing this. Is like, you walk into a building, they take your temperature, you show any signs, they isolate you, they test you for flu, then they give you a CT scan. Then they, if they test you for flu, you have it, go home, spend a few days at home, you got the flu. Then they'll give you like X-ray, CT scans all the way down, and then they test you for COVID. And so, if you can do that, if you could set up testing centers, if you can make sure you have masks available all the time, I still am unsure about that Swedish model. Like, if you look at the numbers today, like yesterday there was a huge spike in deaths and in cases in Sweden, and like it goes up for 2 days, it drops a little bit, then it goes up again for 2 days. So, is it really working? Whereas all the other 3 are just dropping.
Yeah.
Now it's a question of how do they open up.
Yeah. They are in Denmark. They're back at school, and they're opening up stuff. My sister-in-law is Danish, and her nieces back in school. But it's like her youngest niece is in kindergarten, and she said that there's only like 6 or 7 of them allowed into the kindergarten class at a time, and they have like these like cages almost. They're not like cages, but they're like little fences, little toddler fences. So like there's like one for each little toddler. It's like, what are they gaining from this? Like, what are they gaining from this?
But there's a school in the UK called Michaela, and it's supposed they name it like the strictest school in the UK. But she, like the principal, headmistress, whatever, she was talking about it, and she said, she goes, you can't really social distance at school. She goes, yes, you can do that in the classroom. She goes, what are you going to do in the hallways? You know, you have all those kids coming out of class at one time. You know, even if you like alternate somehow or other, you're still gonna have a bunch of kids in the hallway at one time. And she's like, she goes, you know, if you goes, you know, she says, I don't know the science, I don't know any of it. If I get direction, I'm going to go that way. But we have to face realities, and we have to speak about it honestly. She's like, you can't say like, okay, you're gonna have 100% distancing at school, because you can't do it.
Yeah.
So,
I'm wondering about, like, my friend that lives in Rwanda, she runs the Marriott there, and they actually take the temperature of every person that wants to get a room, and if it's over a certain amount, I don't know, I think it's only happened once, but they have, like, stuff in place for that. I'm wondering if that's something schools can do, or is that just too much, or that just takes too long to take the temperature of every student?
no, I mean, I think it would take a little bit of time, but I think you could manage it. Like, say, okay, school, like, show up at the same time, but school will start an hour later, because, you know, every kid that's going in is, you're going to get the temperature taken, and then so you show up at 9, instead of starting at 9, you start at 10, and instead of finishing at 3, you finish at 4, or whatever. Or it's a shorter school day, so you can you can cut out like gym class, right? Or you can cut out certain classes so you can have a shorter school day or something. I mean, there's things to work out, but it just, again, it comes back to, like, do we have a plan? Like, and why aren't we being told stuff? And it's like, it's the frustration, and I get why people are pissed off. I mean, I even get the stupid kids at spring break. You know, that's like teenagers, their hormones are going.
Right.
You got fight and flight, and in this case, fighting is flight. Like, flight is fighting. But, you know, you're 19 or you're 20, and you don't, you know, you're horny and you want to go to spring break. You know, you're not going to think that you're going to go.
Yeah. That was probably the hardest thing in the beginning of this, was dealing with our teenage daughter.
Oh God.
She's done so well. Like, she just there was just a couple of moments where it was like, how are you not understanding this? So you have to, like, remind yourself that this is a teenager, like, her brain isn't fully formed yet, and like we all made dumb decisions. She's just living in a time where her dumb decisions could be life or death, right? And
right. We all did dumb stuff, but we weren't doing it.
Yeah, like, there was one time my mom texted me, and she's like, "Where's Abby?" And I'm like, I have no idea. And I thought she was downstairs. She's like, "No, I think I just saw her in her friend's truck." And I'm like, "What?" So I'm like, "Abby, where are you?" And then she lied. She said, "I'm walking somewhere to meet my friend." And I'm like, "No, you're not. You're in her truck." And so it was a bit of an issue, but she understood. It just was like the one mistake. But it was in the beginning, like, they were just going on spring break, right? Yeah. And she had plans to go to Vancouver because her mom lives in Vancouver. And her mom got her Billie Eilish tickets, and she had put down a deposit on a new tattoo that my parents paid for her for graduation. And she was so looking forward to it. And we told her that she had to cancel the tattoo appointment. She can't go to Vancouver. She's not going to Billie Eilish. Before anything was shut down, before the Billie Eilish concert was canceled or anything. And so she didn't, you know, it was just immediate, like, why, you know, like, anger and upset. And it was really difficult. And it was making me pissed off with, like, Trudeau and everybody else, because I was like, you need to shut these things down so that I don't have to be the bad guy. Like, can you just be the bad guy, Trudeau, please?
What do you think this is going to do for, I mean, like, I know you, like, you work a lot from home, Courtney, and I'm not sure about yourself, Bridget, but like, what do you think this is going to do for things like that? Like, I was reading stuff about tech companies finding like, or not even just tech companies, but companies in San Francisco. There was one guy, he's like, okay, I have 400 employees. When they started doing like about a month of working from home, he's like, productivity is pretty much the same. If we can streamline this a little bit better, I'll save $10 million a year in rent and like food. So why don't I just have people work from home?
I would like to address that. I work from home, same as Courtney. I do freelance work. But my husband, he is a tech guy. He works for a Fortune 500 company. Mm-hmm. And he's now working from home. And he's able to do everything from home that, you know, he does at work. So I'm like, you would think more people would, it's going to save them millions of dollars for sure. Because they have like, they are real grandiose at this job. They like have like beer Friday. They buy.
Are they hiring?
Like, yeah. All right. They have meals and stuff like that, and I'm like, but they're still, you know, my husband's working. He actually works. You know what? You work longer when you're at home because you don't have that. Oh, I get to get off at 5 o'clock. You just take your time before you realize it. You've worked an hour longer than. So they're actually probably getting more out of their workers.
Yeah.
Working from home.
Yeah, you save the commute time. Like my husband's been working from home too, and he will, like, it's only a 20-minute drive to work, but it's still like, you know, the routine of getting up and like getting ready to leave the house, and sometimes you have to get gas and pack your lunch and all that stuff. It's saving him tons of time. And like he gets to get up and like sit around and do nothing for a while, which is not something he usually gets to do. So, but I'm not gonna lie, I do prefer when he goes to work.
No two people to be together 24.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Okay, no, okay. There is all that, but I mean, if it does give people the option. Like, I think certain things are going to change. I mean, I even think, because you're seeing a lot from universities where they're saying they're not going to be able to open up in the fall, and they're thinking about going online until, you know, next fall or next spring, right? I think this is going to open up a space for, because I've heard a lot of professors and stuff, I see them a lot on Twitter, like, complaining about the fact that, yes, it's great, they can teach, but, you know, I don't like just standing in front of the blackboard. I like walking around, I like talking, if I had a VR company right now, and I've said this to a few people, like, I would start making a VR classroom.
Yeah.
And like, you
know, I'm sure there's people working on
it. I'm sure there is. And if a university could offer you that, like, okay, you know what? Instead of coming to a brick and mortar university and paying all this, it'll cost you like, you know, half the price and included as a set of VR goggles. There you go. You know, like, but yeah. But there's another place the government's getting in the way of a lot of things is in the States. And I think this comes out of because of Title IX. I could be wrong about that, but this is this is out of the American Disabilities Act. So if they're going to have anything on video, they're supposed to have closed captions. All right?
Yeah.
Now, instead of saying, okay, we'll work with a stopgap, we'll get you the notes and we'll get you like videos of the captions a day later or something, right? They stopped a lot of courses from being done because the teachers didn't have, because it got shut so quickly. Teachers didn't have time to get stuff captioned.
Right.
So they were stopping these things because of, okay, there's nothing against the American for Disabilities Act, right? Like there's nothing against that. But you need a little bit of flexibility in a time like this. Like you just can't, oh no. And there were administrators at universities saying, don't put out these, because they were worried that they were going to lose funding. So they were stopping stuff to get out.
Yeah. That's the frustration that we're facing with the banks. Like I just can't wrap my mind around the fact that there's no flexibility at this time. Like we can't cross the border. We can't, like, why can't we all get on a Zoom call and I'll show you my passport? Like, I don't understand.
That I don't get.
And here is most of the banks are closed. Like I bank at Wells Fargo, and there's only one or two in the state that are even like allowing people to come in. So, and their expectation is I have Courtney with me, and I've done this for many nonprofits. It's always a hassle, but never like this. I'm just like, Ugh.
You'd think they could just bend the rules a little bit for this time. Like,
for a nonprofit. I mean,
see,
we're trying to help.
I don't get this because it just, again, maybe it's because it's the United States, different laws, I don't know. But when I was working overseas, so I'm in Kabul, and I'd given my mom a general power of attorney because I needed someone to look after some of my stuff in case, right? And I wanted to invest some money, so I was buying the place I'm living in now. I bought it. But I had to get her a specific power of attorney. I was able to get it signed on the base, notarized, send it to someone, and I got all that done on a base in Kabul, for Christ's sakes. Like, I mean, you can't do something like that from, like, Canada to the States?
Yeah.
I needed to get something notarized from my bank. They actually had closed all the Wells Fargo's for like a week. And I needed something for notarized from the financial institution that I had a bank account. And I needed it immediately. And I had to wait like a week. And even then, it's appointments only. And of course, the appointments are going to be full. There's only one. And it's just so frustrating. Like, I just.
Yeah, this is my first venture into nonprofits in the U.S. And but Gail, our other co-founder, she has experience doing the banking for nonprofits that are based in the U.S. And she's told us that it's just like this when it's international and you have people in all different countries and stuff like that. It's just impossible. It's absolutely impossible. She's been through it before, and so now you add the pandemic and the fact that, like, because I could just travel. I'm an hour away from the U.S., right? Like, I could just go across the border. There's a Wells Fargo right there, and sit in there and sign whatever. But it's so frustrating. We'll figure it out, though.
I have an idea, so. Well,
Bridget's going to save us.
So we do have our 501c3. I mean, it's when people do donate, we do have a PayPal account. But it needs to eventually be a bank account. But all the, tax deductible donations to someone and, memberships as well. But crazy times, sad times. I mean,
yeah, it's a little. Yeah, things are all a little messed up. Look, I don't want to keep you guys too long because I figure you got stuff to do.
Yeah.
Not that all of our social calendars are all that busy, but if you have any last words, if you want to let people know where you can get in touch with you, where they can find you, donation links, and if you have any links or anything like that, just send them to me and I'll put them in the description.
Okay.
So
you go, Bridget.
Oh, okay. I would just say, well, you can find us. We're really active, probably on Facebook the most. What are we at? Atheist, or just International Association of Atheists. We have a Facebook page, internationalatheist.org. We're on Instagram, Twitter. And you can find up. We're updating the page all the time with the initiatives that we eventually want to have. And, if you want to email us, info@internationalatheist.org as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm forgetting Courtney.
No, that's it. I think so. Just a note, though, we are always looking for good volunteers, people who are willing to actually commit some time to stuff and be reliable.
You just cut out for a sec if you want to say that again, because I only got the last end of that.
We're always looking for reliable volunteers who want to help us with anything. If you have ideas, propose them, whatever you want. You can email us at info@internationalatheist.org, and we'll check that out.
Cool. Well, thanks a lot, you guys, and thanks everyone for listening.
Thanks for having me on.